Good morning. This is Vashti from Vashti's house. I'm actually going on a little drive. It's a 2-hour drive to visit my daughter. She lives out of town. This is Mom Talk for Adults. I think it's number 12. I've got a quick trick for you for processing information and working through obstacles and difficulties as they happen in our day to day. And that is when you retell a story, even in your head, process it in your head or retell it out loud about a time when something happened that made you feel bad. When you're retelling it, take off the words "to me" at the end of the statement. So, for example, my boss was really mean to me today. Just say my boss was really mean today. My wife's been nagging me all week. My wife's been nagging all week. My mother does not understand me. My mother does not understand. The reason that is important is because when you put the word "me" at the end, you're actually trying to focus on two different things at the same time. Obviously, there was an emotional response, and there was their behavior. But when we're discussing somebody else's behavior, which is something that we can't control, the only thing that matters after that is just what you're going to do about it. It doesn't really matter how it makes you feel because it's almost irrelevant. There are caveats to that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But for the most part, day to day, the people that, we're going to run into people, our own relatives, the people that we work with, they don't have good communication skills. They have their own trauma issues. Maybe they really don't like you, and maybe they don't need to like you. I mean, this is the way life is, and this is the reality of life. And if we have an emotional response or think about how that makes us feel every single time that happens, you are going to drain your emotional energy bank. And your emotional energy is a very finite resource. So keeping yourself out of the equation will actually help you get to the solution a lot quicker. So my boss was mean today. What am I going to do about it? And maybe you can think about ways that you're going to set up boundaries and let him know what those are. And boundaries, by the way, are not expectations of other people. Boundaries are simply letting other people know what you are going to do if thus and such happens. That's all a boundary is. Or, if your wife's been nagging all week, what are you going to do about it? Maybe you can ask her some clarifying questions. What's really going on? And maybe you can share some personal things, as to why you have internal blocks for doing things. Whatever you decide to do. Or maybe your mother doesn't understand you and she doesn't have the capacity to understand you. It's not personal to you. That's just where she is in life. It feels personal, obviously, but she doesn't understand you. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep telling her things she doesn't understand? Are you going to keep holding her accountable for things that she can't do and thereby continuing to frustrate your own self? So that is just a quick trick to keep you out of that emotional hijacking cycle in your day-to-day. Now, there are times when we've been genuinely betrayed by somebody that we love and who we're in a relationship with. And it is always good to process emotions. Even if there's an emotional trigger from something your boss said, all emotional triggers can and should be processed. But that is separate from deciding what you're going to do about that specific situation. And that can happen later. And it's very personal to you. And maybe at that point, you can even decide what boundaries you're going to set for later. But processing the information, it's not to you. It's just their behavior. And then you have the agency to just decide what you're going to do about it. All right. I hope you're having a great day. Hope this helps. Let me know if you do that at any point and if it helps you at all. Have a great day. This is Vashti from Vashti's house, and make yourself at home.